You'll never make it.
And we're in.
And
Yay.
we're in.
We need people who are joining us to let us know what our volume is like. Can you hear us? Can you not?
Can
Are
you
we
hear
loud
us?
again?
Are we too loud? Are we too soft?
Yep.
Do you hear rustling when I pet my mic?
You're going to sing Soft Mike.
Do I get this?
Hey,
Good
kitty.
mic. Good mic.
Oh, kitty.
I don't know. Oh, there we are. Okay, just now.
We're here.
So people are just now popping.
Of course.
Oh,
Lucky them.
I don't know. Our closed captioning says we keep saying the word Katie. Did any of us?
Kitty. I said kitty.
Kitty. Well, it's thinking.
Don't trust that
or
stuff.
saying- no, you cannot.
I looked at it a couple weeks ago and I'm like, yeah, that's not even close.
That's not close to what we were saying.
Is it our enunciation? I think it's them. Can't be us.
I think it's them. I don't know. Now it's just.
Is that better?
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any eyeballs on here yet. Do you have any eyeballs on yours?
No.
No.
Oh, there we go. Sue Becca's here, and I can hear you.
Okay.
Good.
Yay.
Most
Well-
excellent.
That's delightful.
Delightful. We have got to banter a little bit.
We
Because,
do.
So while we wait for people
While we
to join
wait
on.
for
So what
people-
announcements do we
Keith
have?
and Deb are here. The church logo is covering Russ's head.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're trying to.
Should I leave
Julio,
that,
Julio
move
was supposed to
forward?
fix that last week, but
I'm in
I'll
witness
just make the
protection.
screen bigger.
you're in Witsec, yeah.
Make the
Screen bigger.
Mm-hmm. It should move that up.
How's that, Keith and
It
Deb?
hasn't changed yet. Hang on.
Did you like it better when the logo was there? Would you like us to move it around?
Hold please. We're still. Oh, there we go. Better.
Is that better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're only covering his left ear.
No, it's over by on top of the piano now.
Okay.
My new
So
name
good.
is Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski. He's going to be sad, and it's like, oh my gosh. That was a great part of that movie. I'm telling you what. All right, Keith said perfect. There we go. Thanks for pointing that out, because I was just looking at the closed captioning, and I totally was not paying attention to what that picture actually looked like there.
Yeah. So, do we have any announcements?
Oh, we
Well,
got
I think
tons.
our church service on Sunday.
So
right there.
we've had another positive COVID in church, not as a result of church, but someone in church has tested positive, so we are taking the precaution of going virtual for this Sunday service. There's also, we have the town hall meeting, so that will be via Zoom after church. So there is a link in the bulletin, a link on the website, a link in the weekly to join that Zoom call. So please do. And then next week, that was kind of our decision-making process, was to be safe this week so that we could have our in-person annual meeting next week. So the town hall is for anybody who may have questions about the budget, the
You got it.
the mission
Constitution?
statement,
Oh.
and the Constitution. I was going for Constitution.
I wasn't
I
sure
couldn't
which
get
word
it.
you were going for.
Couldn't get it there. And then, if you have any questions, be prepared to ask them on this Sunday, so that when we get to the actual annual meeting, we can kind of hopefully sail through with little interruption.
And we can come up with answers if there's questions we don't have
That's
the
right.
answer for that day.
Yeah. That's the real helpful thing, is being able to noodle through something if we don't have the answer for it.
And if you're not, Zoom savvy, you can always give us a call, and we can try to help you walk through those steps
Right.
to get you into that Zoom call, or you can email in the questions or call in your questions, and we can still have those questions and prepare for those and get you answers. It's not ideal, but we'll make it work.
Nope.
We have the technology.
Yep. Please join.
Hopefully it will work. Prayerfully, it will work.
And hopefully, none of the three of us will be in charge of technology for next week. So we'll be.
Hey, if they can hear us today,
This is 2 weeks in a row that it was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Just saying.
don't
Knock on.
knock on wood.
Yeah. So another announcement I have is the Weekend of Health at St. Paul's. It's pretty.
Health and wellness.
Yes, health and wellness. So on February 4th, we will have our blood drive over in the parish hall from 10 to 4. Belinda, you said there were some afternoon slots still open.
There were. I can look real quick, maybe.
Okay. And then Saturday, the 6th, we'll have a vaccine clinic over in the parish hall. Anybody can come, no appointment is needed. It's walk in and folks from Frederick Health will get you squared away with your vaccine. And hopefully that's all good. And I did share that.
I think they're doing boosters as well.
They're
right? So you
doing
can
doing
do-
any one of the 3 shots
And-
for adults and children.
Yep, 5 to 12 are welcome to
Yep.
come.
And they've got both Moderna and Pfizer.
Both
right?
Moderna and Pfizer.
Yep.
Yep. So full service, just come on in. And I did share that with Geraldine downstairs, so
Good.
she'll
good.
be able to put that out. And FEC, I shared it with Vicki as well. And then on the 4th, 6th, I got to count on my fingers.
And 3 days of fun.
On Sunday at 1:30 in the afternoon, we will have some folks from Carroll Lutheran Village up in Westminster who are going to present us with a program on understanding dementia. So whether you're a caregiver, a family member, or someone who might be feeling that you're entering that stage of life, come. And hopefully we'll have some good information and some answers for you at that thing. So we're asking that people sign up for that. We created a link that you can just click on, give us your name, a contact number, and how many people are coming, so that we can kind of get an idea as to where we'll be at and if we can open it up to other folks if we don't have enough of a turnout.
And if you got the flyer from me prior to getting that, it says call the office to RSVP. You can do that too.
You can do that.
Because I already sent that flyer
I know
out.
some folks the other night were asking for that, so.
We have, appointments for blood drive, to round back out with that, we have only 3, 4, 5, 6 appointments left. So
Oh,
we've
that's
got
great.
some like right around lunchtime, noon, 12:15, 1, and then an opening at 2. So
Cool.
thank you guys for filling that in. It is open to the public now. Everybody can see it. So you can click through our website to get to this page to
Yep.
sign up.
Yep.
And we'll see you on Friday the
See you
4th,
on the 4th.
which is coming really fast.
2 weeks.
Already.
I know, I was excited when we got the new milk jug and it was February. I
Yeah.
was like, yes.
February. And then you're
One
like,
step
"That's
closer
only
to spring.
2" oh, well, right. Well,
Soon we'll find out whether it's 6 more weeks of winter or 6 weeks of spring.
Can't
Either way.
wait for the giant rat.
One day I'm going up there to see that. It's on my bucket list.
Don't get caught in a loop while you're up
get
there.
caught in the groundhog day loop.
Well, as long as I'll be able to learn how to play piano, do other things, I'll be good.
Yeah. Save everybody in town.
That's right. Phil Connors.
Satani Phil.
Oh,
Okay, so now we know Pastor Phil's lifelong dream.
I don't know if that's a lifelong dream, but
At least today.
Today's musings of. Anywho.
yep. And then what's the date? For the Mardi Gras game night.
Is that happening?
It is.
Because I thought
Tentatively.
there was a birthday party that was rescheduled.
It was, but
Still
Come
happening.
by.
so the
I-
birthday party's going to happen, and then folks are going to be able to come in afterwards to set
That's
up
going to
for
be a
that.
Mardi Gras themed birthday party.
Mardi Gras themed birthday party. So that will be, I'm pretty sure
That's probably the 19th then.
it was,
It's a Saturday. It's February 19th.
yes, the 19th, February 19th. How about that?
How about that? If you're looking to come with us to Victoria Park, I did just get confirmation back about that, that we're going to head over to Victoria Park for an afternoon of games on February 13th, which is Super Bowl Sunday. But we're going to be there from 1 to 4, so
Okay.
So
you'll be totally home and ready.
you only have to
pre-
watch 18 hours of pregame
Yes,
instead of
yes,
25.
25
You're going to
hours.
pregame
Yes.
with games at Victoria Park and the residents there. Anyway.
So if there's a
That's-
game, nobody at your house will play with you that you like, you never get to play, bring it with.
Bring it.
Bring it.
And then I think they're going to try to do soup and sandwich, I think, that night too. So 5 o'clock soup and sandwich, 6 o'clock games, and then however else that goes.
However else that goes. February 19th in
February
the Parish Hall.
19th in the Parish Hall.
We got a month. What could happen in a month?
Who knows?
Everything will be fine.
Who knows?
And then before you know it, it'll be Lent,
Yep,
March 2nd.
March 2nd.
So
But
anyway, do you have anything else, Russ?
I hope not. I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. And you're not going to do
Well.
kids' faith formation this Sunday, right?
Well, no, not that we're virtual, no. There'll be
I
a
just-
video up, but no, there will be no in-person. There will be no in-person faith formation for kids this Sunday since we're virtual. There won't be any next Sunday because we'll all be in our congregational meeting. I have not been able to procure childcare for that, so everybody's on their own for that. Bring your kids.
Bring your kids.
We'll just entertain them with.
They can learn how an
you know.
annual meeting goes.
Well, you want to know, I was preparing my whatever I was going to say, and one of my earliest memories, I was trying to think what of my earliest memories in St. Paul's was sitting through a congregational meeting that was in here, and two male members were going at it. So like I always sit in the fourth pew back over here. There was a man 2 pews back. I know who they were, but I'm not going to say. So 2 pews back from me, standing up, yelling at someone on this side who was also standing up and yelling, and I was like, okay, this is
good.
church.
Yay.
This is scary.
Well, let's hope that doesn't occur this week.
Let's hope that doesn't occur,
Well,
but I'm just
I
saying.
don't remember anybody getting too fired up in the last 20 years, so.
Yeah, no, I couldn't see over the pew. I remember being hymnal level, playing with my dolls, and then the yelling started and was like, what's happening?
Maybe we'll put that in the list. The yelling.
The yelling.
The yelling is right
That's
after
what's in the town
the
hall, so
treasurer.
you don't have,
There
you don't
we
have
go.
to put that in the meeting minutes.
Right.
Anyway,
Okie doke.
those were the 80s.
All right. Well, I think that's about all
I don't know what I
have.
went off on my tangent about. Oh, so that's the 30th. So, and then the first Sunday fellowship on February 6th. So we
Well,
won't be back in person.
They've
With,
suspended chats for a little while. So
it's nothing the same. Anyway,
Well, how long is that? 3
so-
weeks away, did you say?
Well, I just sent out a reminder to all the parents about what was happening. So faith formation's not returning until February 13th as
Okay.
regularly scheduled, but now
Scheduled.
I don't
Well,
know.
Who knows?
Who
By then. Maybe
knows?
February 13th, everything will be good then. You don't know.
Well, I hope so. That's when I said we were going to return in person. So I
All
don't
right.
know. There'll be some videos, or there won't. I don't know. Faith formation. Everybody just read your Bibles.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Everybody loves everybody.
Everybody. Love everybody. Amen. And that's it.
Okay, so we are going to finish up criminal justice, hopefully this week.
We should be able
We've
to blow
only
through
got
this.
20 more pages to go.
Only 20 more pages.
We can zip right through this.
And
We're starting on page 23,
23,
in case anybody's following
why-
along at home.
wise responses of love.
That's it. Just
There you go. Moving on.
Check.
there are like 5 subsections with subsections underneath that for this wise responses of love.
Right. So the first one is ministry and compassionate suffering. It kind of lays out where, regardless of who you are, regardless of what situation you're in, Jesus always showed love for everybody. Didn't matter whether you were the Roman soldier, whether you were the leper or the beggar or whatever.
Or a woman.
Or a woman.
God forbid.
Or a,
God forbid.
that through that, Jesus shares God's love, and it's most fully revealed because it's given freely.
Reckless love, it says.
Reckless. I think there's a song like that.
There is, it is. It's a good song. Distraction.
Shiny object.
Shiny.
We may get
But I think that's what it says. And then this one quote further down the page, it says, when Luther concludes his list of ways one can identify the church on earth, it is as if he says, look for the cross, look for people enduring persecution, hardship, danger, and death, precisely because they will not compromise their faithfulness to God. So what it's saying, it's kind of like likening it to the story of Job, where Job was consistently, things were taken away from him, things were taken away from him, things were taken away from him. And each time something was taken away from him, he still remained faithful to God. And that's where God shows up. And then God, obviously, because of Job's faithfulness, God blessed Job. And that's how we should be looking at it. Yeah, sure, we have crappy times. We have things that go wrong in our lives. Yesterday for me was that day. I drove to work. All's good. Opened my office door. Left my computer home. Drive home. Okay. Come back, and then I have, usually have some hard-boiled eggs for lunch.
Forgot your lunch.
Nope. I peeled my eggs.
They're not hard-boiled.
No, they were.
Sue, put that in your memory bank for April.
And I normally just, peel them on a napkin, and I crumple up the napkin and throw it away as a package. Well, as I went to pick up the napkin, shells everywhere. Is there a vacuum over in the perishable?
No.
There used to be.
So anyway, that, and then
There might be one in the vault.
Then I went home.
I think that's a buffer.
Yeah, the buffer.
No, I thought there was a vacuum in there too.
Then I went home
digress.
to clear the ice off the driveway. Bought salt, had it on the tailgate of the truck, and I'm working around the truck. All of a sudden I hear.
So now you're going to have a big rotten hole in your driveway.
So yeah, I mean, but you got to look at it like, okay.
Did you use loving words immediately after all those things?
I think I did.
Okay, I was just checking.
Reckless love.
It was strong love.
Anyway.
But I mean, I think that's really what yes, we may be in a period of suffering. We may be in a period of our heart not feeling it, but that's exactly where God shows up. And that's what we have to embrace. And that's really doing compassionate suffering with everybody. So if I see you having a bad day or see you having a bad day, I come beside you and just be there.
And offer glimpses of hope to that, this too shall pass kind of thing. Even if you don't, because some of the suffering that we're coming across specifically in this statement might be out of our realm of understanding as a victim or as an incarcerated person or as a child of an incarcerated parent or whatever. We might not be able to understand what kind of suffering they're going through, but having compassion, that's where that compassion part comes.
And I think that's the important thing, is recognizing and and I've often done it where Sue says it to me, where I say, I try to, I try to understand and I try to fix, as opposed to just
Right.
understanding and listening.
Listening is usually number
Right.
one, and that's usually enough.
So that's really what we need to do, because
Yeah.
most often we don't understand a particular circumstance. We don't often understand how a particular person is feeling, but if we're there, then that's the way it goes.
And I would say most of the time, they're not looking for you to solve their problems. They just
Yeah,
want
that's
somebody
again, we don't have
they
to
want
be
to
that
vent. They want
solution.
somebody to listen and be heard.
Right.
And if they feel heard, sometimes that's enough.
Yeah.
So are we moving on to responsive love and practice?
Yeah, sure. Would you like to take that one on?
No, I'm just trying to keep us back on, just trying to stay on track here.
There you go.
Just trying to stay on track. Well, it kind of went into what we were just saying.
It does.
People
But-
feel invisible, and being beside them, with them, is a practical response in love. It's just helping, just being present.
The way I read that too was that we also need to, not that we can, but to be there to come alongside those who we don't know are having problems. So we experience that every Sunday when we lift up prayers of the church, and that's reaching out to those who, unbeknownst to us, are having problems. And at some point, God will hear our prayer, and hopefully that translates to, pushing out the love to somebody else.
As a caveat, bringing up the prayer of the church, not at all related to what we're talking about here, but could you not pray for John, Jacob, in that order?
John, Jacob, Jingleheimer,
Yeah,
Schmidt.
because Lauren and I were having a hard time holding it together back here. I was like, anybody else? And then I talked to Lauren after faith formation. She's like, yeah, in my head. And I was like, and so now I don't even know who else is on the prayer list. After you started off with John, Jacob, I have no idea who was next. I was just, what? So could you just,
Sorry.
Jacob, John, I don't know.
I'll switch that around for you.
Put somebody else's name in the middle. I don't know, God bless, but I could not concentrate after that, and I was not the only one.
Okay.
Anyhow, back to hearing the cries.
So hearing.
This is a tough day. The snow day.
It is.
Do we need to come beside you in your suffering and being here with us?
That is some definite pain. So,
Okay.
So the next part of this is hearing the cries, and we kind of talked about this when we jumbled around this the first day.
Yeah.
Hearing the cries of the different people. So you want to hear the cries of the victims, which to me is very, I don't want to say most important, but I think it's way up there.
Yeah, it's first listed here.
It
so I
is
feel like,
listed first, but
not to say that that's
I think
in order of importance.
with
but
with the way we've been talking about things, we want to treat each category equally, and not put this person or that person or this situation above any other. We embrace them together.
right.
So obviously we want to hear. We want to hear the pain, we want to hear the suffering, and we want to be able to stand with those people who have been victims of crime, who might not be able to handle things on their own, who just need someone to sit there, and that's really.
And I thought it was, I mean, they specifically said those individual victims, but also bringing in their families, because even though maybe that crime wasn't perpetrated to that, it was on that individual, not the whole family, that whole family might need support in supporting that victim, which, I mean, I guess I thought about, but having it in writing was a little more like,
Right.
yeah, we do need to have some sort of support for that other person's support, you know?
Yeah, because
So
it's not going to be a one-time thing.
it's
That's
not
going to be
gonna
an
be a
ongoing
one-time-
thing
yeah.
to get through.
And the next one was families of offenders. So you look, and you see it more often with like families of like active or mass shooters and stuff like that, where they don't know that their family member was anywhere thoughtfully involved in that kind of stuff, and they just are, you know, you look at how do you come beside that? How do you help them, and how do you not ostracize them because of what their family member did?
And that brings me to the Amish community that embraced the family of the
guy who held it was right.
That
13
whole,
girls.
That whole situation, in embracing the widow and his children.
Right.
Afterwards was just.
And it really wasn't. I mean, it really wasn't after. It was like immediate.
No, I mean yeah.
Right.
So
right.
that's the kind of reckless love.
Yeah.
Unconditional.
That's
hard to do.
It's unconditional for them, really.
Yeah.
And
because
and
you
I
might
know
be more apt to side with the victim versus the offender.
Right.
Well,
but that's not what
a
we're
lot
called
of people
to
be
do.
like, how could you live with that person and not know? You know, how,
right.
And
right.
There's plenty
and there's
of,
no way for any, and this is another one of those situations where there's no way for any of us to know for sure anything.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And judging doesn't help.
Right.
I mean, I had a friend who, had no idea, and he killed his wife, and then he killed himself. Had no inkling that that was ever going to happen. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I say, I just don't get it. So you have to, I don't know.
And we have to kind of let ourselves off of the survivor's guilt, or the families of the offenders feel a lot of that guilt, I would assume, for the actions of that family member, but they have to move beyond that too, and it's our job to help them move beyond that.
Right, exactly.
This next one, children separated from incarcerated parents cry out. That one's tough because it's a cycle, that we've seen played out over and over with lack of parents being in the home, separated because they're incarcerated, and then that child then becoming an offender
right.
later on.
Yeah, and I think, and a lot of it depends on circumstance too.
What kind of support?
How are you incarcerated? Why are you incarcerated? Mm-hmm. How is that affecting your kids? Because not that it's really a difference, but if you're incarcerated because you're a shoplifter as opposed to a murderer, that's a whole different.
Or you're incarcerated because you're abusing your child versus,
right. Right. Right.
Whatever. Yeah. There's a variance of it, but supporting the children.
And I thought the next one, there's a sentence. The next one is convicted of crimes, cry out. And the sentence in there that, yes, it's easy for us to forget that those who harm others are still human beings. Mm-hmm. And I am one of those persons.
Well, and a lot of it depends on the level of what the crime was. The worse it gets, the harder that is.
Because you can't fathom, again, how you can perpetrate that crime.
Right.
How can you wound or harm others the way that you did? It's so foreign to you, but again, looking at it with God's compassionate love, all of our sins are
equal. Right.
They're all sins. We don't have that kind of vision. That one's a tough one for us.
It is.
But bringing
It's
up
very
and talking about it and hearing those cries is part of a step towards, anyway.
I mean, there's a part of me that is like, for some, lock them up and throw away the key.
Well, and even at the beginning of this They talk about that. There are some people who need to
Be
Who
removed
need
from
to
be
society.
removed from society
Right.
permanently. Yeah.
Yep.
And the next one we get into, it'll really be talking about permanence.
Yes. And, it's obviously the communities where certain crimes occur cry out because they need to, like us, understand why it is that this happened in their community. I mean, you look at the recent standoff at the synagogue. Why there? Why them? Why now? And as law enforcement goes through the situation, they find that there are many other levels and I have no idea yet why they brought it there, but
It was
and that's
20 miles away from the place where Lady Al-Qaeda was being held, and he wanted her released. So
Well-
it could have just been like a
Well, and the
random
thing,
act
rant,
of opportunity.
opportunity.
the thing
and-
that was surprising to me was that synagogue had gone through training for a
Yeah.
situation like that.
I think a lot of I think
Right.
a lot of synagogues
After the
have in
Pittsburgh
the
one.
last
Yep.
couple of years, and then for me, I was like, should we have done? I mean, because I don't know.
The
It's a-
rifle rack in the
like we'd be.
But the
What other
crazy
kind of
thing
training
is,
do we need to do in
but the training
2022?
paid off. They
Yes,
did the things
they-
according
yeah.
to, and they all got out safe,
Right.
which is,
And not to say that it wouldn't happen here, but I think we're kind of in a different circumstance.
I never would have thought someone would have walked in during service and stolen 5 purses while we were here.
True.
I mean, and that's not, no one was harmed by that physically, but the sense of
Security
that was
taken away.
taken away when that
Yeah.
happened, it's still like,
I mean-
I will see somebody's purse on the, Betsy puts her purse down, so I know where I'm supposed to sit on Sunday, and I'm like, oh, she's putting her purse.
But I'm
a little, like,
consistently listening for the doors open and stuff like that. And
right, and it's a little bit
and-
of that trust in humanity that is gone.
And it's a little more challenging across the street because I can hear the door open. Like this morning, I heard the door open. I was in the bathroom, and then
And then nothing.
there was nobody. And I saw a code in there, and I was like, I know who that is. But still, you're like,
Who's in here?
right. So anyway,
Yeah. So again, that's a communities cry out, because that's when crime is committed towards a specific community. Maybe not just in Walkersville here, but say the Jewish community, then all of them have had that bit of trust eroded, or the
Right.
Asian community, or it doesn't have to just be geographic communities as well, but
right. Right. I mean, you look at, over the past couple of years, like you said, Asian community was targeted because of this, or, the African American community because of that, or, whoever, And
well,
it's-
and a lot of it isn't even that specific. It's just like lower income,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Opportunity, whatever. It's
So then,
all challenging.
we have the workers who work in those systems, work in law enforcement, work in jails, work in rehab
system.
facilities, all those kind of stuff. They are also crying out because they're trying to find ways to help all of the others. So I think that a lot of burden falls there, where we can come beside and still pray for them, and
But I think a lot of people in that system are fixers too, from judicial to law enforcement, or they've seen a problem and are inspired to be a part of the system to help fix it. And it can be super stressful.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I think coming from the point of authority too, people aren't automatically going to be like, pat you on the back,
Good
are you
job.
okay? Because you're the authority,
Right.
and the enforcement, or however you go, how far you go up the chain. So a lot of people don't necessarily think about how stressful that is, or
Right.
or all the
Or how much it
garbage
hurts
you
when
have to
you're-
deal with.
You know, someone in the community disses you just because of your job. You know, you're at a restaurant and they walk away from you and not serve you just because you just want lunch.
Right.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, just because of the uniform you wear
Right.
or whatever. Yeah.
Or whatever.
Absolutely.
And then citizens and taxpayers also cry out.
Yep.
Because, you know, we do eventually handle the burden. I can't remember the numbers, but I think it was in the billions of running the whole system.
programs,
Yeah.
everything that ties into
Well, and
that.
also just the security of your neighborhood and in your home.
Right.
You know, that comes back that way too.
Yeah. So crime hurts us all, is what we're saying.
Check.
Check. And
Yep.
reckless love is going to fix it. No.
Let's hope.
So after we've heard all of those cries, it's telling us that we should have hospitality.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought this was kind of interesting too, where hospitality invites another figuratively or literally into our private space and opens our lives to the possibility of new expectations and experiential understanding. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
But think about the three strangers that appear to Abraham in the desert, and he offers hospitality to the three strangers. And it turns out that it was God who was visiting, and then God blessed Abraham with, family as immeasurable as the stars.
But what if, what if one of those strangers was, there's somebody walking through the desert, and it turns out to be the devil, like who approached Jesus while he was in the desert. And I'm not saying, but how can we assess our risk of just welcoming any stranger in the desert?
Yeah, I think,
That's a tough one for me.
It is.
Because, I've often wanted to, stop and pick somebody up on the side of the road, and
Jay's yelling you at
in
you.
the back
don't
of my
want to be in a
head,
milk
it's like, don't you dare. I have actually done it a couple times. Usually it's women. But the whole time I'm thinking, this was stupid. Because, anyway. But
I don't know. Because, as a kid, my parents always say, don't pick up hitchhikers, don't do this, don't do that. And, you're like, that's ingrained in you. And then, but then you look at it and, that's what I did. Granted, it was my job, and I had a little protection.
You're
but,
armed. So
sometimes-
it's hard to be Abraham and Sarah is all I'm
It
saying.
is. It very much is.
Without knowing how it's going to turn out. But that's part of
your faith.
your faith and not knowing how it's going to turn out. Again, I'm
Well,
just saying
maybe
it's
don't
hard.
do it solo.
Maybe don't do it
Maybe if you got somebody else with you.
Yeah.
and
I don't know.
Maybe.
No good answer on that.
No good answer. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, and this is talking also about church being hospitality, centers of hospitality.
Well, they get into
as
it
well.
at the bottom, what do you do if you've got, somebody convicted of a sexual offense?
Right.
And what do you do with them in your congregation, especially if you're a congregation who has a lot of children and it's a, situation like that.
And we've actually had that discussion here.
And there's a way
how
to
to
do
handle it.
Yeah.
There is a way to do it, accompaniment and accountability to make it safe. And again, it's hard if you can more see yourself on the side of the victim versus the side of the offender,
Right.
and seeing them as that
And
human being and a child of God when you're like,
and being able to come beside somebody in that situation is maybe a way of recovery for them to come up but it has to be a willing partnership, whereas the one that was here was not.
Right.
Well, and also you have to be a congregation that has the capabilities of dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the right amount of people to do things, and
A mentor to be
right.
that person to accompany. That's a healthy role model, because it could very easily become toxic if
Sure.
you haven't vetted that mentor to be able to handle being a mentor.
And that's really what, as you go further, a little bit further, accompaniment is really what
Right,
it
'cause
is.
that's the next one.
It's about being able to be with someone who needs just that extra, can't think of the word.
You're on a roll today.
I am terrible today.
Tongue-tied today, tongue-tied. Well, I was thinking about the prison ministry.
Yeah.
We have a prison ministry, not
Yep.
specifically St. Paul's, but
St. Dismas. Yep.
And how, if we aren't able to provide, a mentor to accompany someone, how can we provide support for the ministry that does?
Right.
And make it aware, just knowing that it's there is something, it just is.
Well, we do that with other things too, where
Right.
if people, stop in the office or whatever and ask for certain things, we send them to the people who handle that.
That's
and
right.
Give them connection.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes that doesn't satisfy that person, but that's what we have laid out as St. Paul's as our net, so to speak, of how we do provide services in the community, because we're partners with Glade Valley Services, we're partners with this group, with that group, and that's how we make things work. We support them, we provide them with money, we provide them with food, we provide them with clothing, etc. And then they're the ones who are the clearinghouse, so to speak, for that type of...
Yeah, so that we can be comfortable with good stewards of our resources from our members, that we aren't part of the grift.
True.
As if that's the situation.
Because a lot of times that is.
Can be the situation.
Yeah.
Well, and also the people that we're sending them to have more
Vast
people
resources.
and resources in it than we do
Yeah.
as a smaller congregation, because you don't want to start something and then have it end.
Right.
If you're going to start something like that, it needs to continue.
Yeah, so like when we're coming together with, several congregations in the community to help support the
Afghan refugees.
refugees, it's, you're like, oh, you're supporting one family. You're like, well, yeah, that they might need a lot of support.
Well,
We can't do that
When you
on
look
our
at what's
own.
involved in it, it is a lot.
Yeah,
There is a lot.
that's something that we need to do communally, not just
Right.
our congregation.
and that's the
So
thing,
that's the kind of thing, the accompaniment, that's what I feel like, if we can't do it personally, how can we support the resources that can?
Right. Yep. And that was kind of part of the mindset behind wanting to do that with all of the congregations here in Frederick, was
Yeah.
we know that, there may be some congregations that, yes, they can step up and they could do this, and that. And there's those that couldn't, that maybe could have only done maybe one piece. But if you come together collectively, everybody has a hand in it, and everybody finds out how it works, and then you determine, well, can we go further in our advocacy?
And that model has worked. I don't know if you've seen the progress, but the building on Hayward Road that the Religious Coalition is turning into
Shelter.
a shelter has made tremendous. I mean, working together communally as, instead of just the Religious Coalition taking that on, everybody partnering with them, they've been able to meet their goals and exceed their goals, and that shelter will be opening soon,
Shortly.
within like the next month or so. So it is a good model
Right.
in the support.
Yep. So then the last thing in that section was burden bearing, and that's really, if you think about,
Oh, we skipped
come-
advocacy.
No, I said advocacy.
Okay, sorry, my bad. I wasn't listening. Wow. Burden bearing, carrying on. That's why you can't think today.
Burden bearing. Come to me, all who are weary. Come to me, and I will take on your burdens. Give me your yoke. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. We're trying to be able to be with people who we can help if they want it, and to make it work.
You said that to your breakfast. Give me your yoke.
Give me your yoke.
Sorry.
Whew,
Today's
You're
rough.
welcome.
today is rough. Anywho, all right, so positive trends.
So how do we work on this? I mean, one of the first things, and there are, but it's victim rights. How do you take care of those who've been wronged? How do you come beside those? How do you provide whatever service or need that those folks have? And part of that is for them to be a part of the process.
Right.
And not just, a phone call, oh, by the way, we're going to allow this to happen or that to happen. You need to have input. You need to be a part of it. And
A lot of this is similar to things we've talked about, from previous things. Everybody needs to be involved, There needs to be lots of communication.
Right. Restorative justice, where restorative justice means that we work towards the crime being a crime against a person as opposed to against the state, where it's not it's not us v them. It's where is everybody involved in it? It's a people thing, and that's really.
And they talk about putting the perpetrator and the victim together and having them talk, possibly, depending on the situation, obviously.
I think that depends a lot on.
Right. But you could see where that would be a situation where they would both understand that the other person's a person from that and not, a faceless.
And it's a little further
entity.
down, but, alternatives for youth offenders. So, somebody burglared the 7-Eleven and it was a kid. How can we, instead of sentencing him or her to,
Jail.
incarceration or detention, can we, put that person in a situation where they understand how that victim felt and make restitution and that sort of thing.
Right.
Or you
Would
can figure out
probably
you can
be-
figure out why that happened and maybe
Right,
change the mindset or the situation.
right, hopefully.
Yep.
Again, every situation is different.
Sure. And the next one was alternatives to incarceration, which you had mentioned before, Russ. Some people have to go to jail.
Absolutely.
But I am a big advocate of doing the work details on the side of the road, picking up the trash or whatever. You show up for whatever and you pick up trash for a day or what, and then I think oddly in my mind that there would be some sort of ownership in that, where look at what I've done in the community. I messed up, but then I was able to have a positive influence on the community that I wronged. So I think that's.
I think work release programs and treatment centers are somewhere we need to also focus. I mean, for me, it doesn't make any sense to, and I'm just giving this as an example, to sentence a deadbeat dad or mom for not paying child support
When they
and
need to have a
taking them
job.
away from their job to incarcerate them.
Sure.
When it would be better to put them in a work release program or some other kind of program to
Where
make sure that they're working and so that they can pay that child support. It doesn't make any sense to me to
And there's some
incarcerate them.
Right, punishing just to punish
It doesn't.
without having some sort of
What's there's got to be
correction
another alternative.
or change afterwards.
And some structure to making sure that that payment occurs.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree.
And probation and parole violations, there's got to be, there's a lot of that too.
But, yeah, and I think, the hard part of that is, okay, you've been given this opportunity, you messed it up. How many more times we're going to give you that opportunity before you're in the category of...
Right. Well, that's another thing. Why did they mess it up?
Right.
Right.
Is it
Did
because
they-
the thing that they need help with to keep them from doing that hasn't been done,
Or
So
did
if
are they, did their incarceration lead them to a place of not having a home and they didn't receive the summons, or, whatever, where's the support coming from? Like, where are those violations of parole and probation because of the situation or circumstances they find themselves in after incarceration, where they have no support to follow through with
Sure.
their parole and probation? I'm just being devil's advocate on that one. Some people are going to keep messing up.
Yep, and they're going to end up in the hole,
And some people just need a little more support to
Right.
stay out of that hole.
Yep.
Whatever. Sentence reforming.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about that.
That's something we don't have a lot of control over, but we can be advocates for that in the judicial system, in the legislators, because as I mentioned, when I first started out in law enforcement, it was the height of the crack wars and everything like that, and people were scared, and because of violence and everything that was
'Cause we're at war.
associated. We were at war, and
We were taking
the fight to them, and that's,
And while sometimes that reaction is necessary for distributors and manufacturers of illegal substances who do have, an arsenal,
Right.
as it were, that situation does need war waged sometimes. But the addict who can't just
get out of his
get
own
out of
way.
that cycle doesn't need a war waged
Right.
against them. They're already having war internally. They need something else, which is what the specialized courts thing is. The next section, like how that rolled that into that.
Good job.
To have, thanks, transition, trying to move us along here. And I've heard of drug court before. I don't know
Yep.
that we have a whole lot of that here.
There was a drug court in Maryland, one in D.C. when I was working. I don't know.
And, varying levels of success with
Right.
that. But what I didn't think about or hadn't heard about was mental health courts or veterans treatments courts. Whereas, the reason you're doing whatever you're doing is
because of
of mental illness or because of your
service.
time of service and the things going on with that, which I guess can roll into a mental health crisis. But either way, I hadn't thought about those particular being separate court system.
Right.
You think about sentencing or judgments
And I
being
know-
separate, but not.
I've heard of like the veterans courts and stuff like that, and some of the good things that they've done. I've never experienced it, so
Yeah.
I just don't know.
It's just an interesting alternative that I had never heard of before.
Well, I think with all this, you need some of everything.
Yeah.
And we don't need to cookie cutter things,
Right. Right.
Everything needs to be individually vetted.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the last thing in this section is reentry programming, which kind of ties in with everything. It's how do I come back into society after doing jail time or probation time or whatever? Is there a support system for me to be able to get a job and a job that's not, and a job that kind of meets what I am qualified to do, or help someone get to that position, to get better, to be able to move up the ladder as opposed to just having to do menial.
To be a productive member of society versus
Right,
society's judging,
right.
or you're hurting society.
Yep.
Whatever.
So it's 5 till.
It is 5 till. and we're only on page 35, but the rest of it, I mean, do we want to like just sum it up, or do we want to sum it up next week and roll into the death penalty? That's our last social statement.
Let's sum it up next week, and because it's
Okay.
we're going to page 50 something, and we're only on
Yeah,
30.
there's quite a few pages of overuse of incarceration, though.
So
right.
We can all agree
we'll
that
look at
maybe
that.
we've already touched on that a couple times, but, so we'll wrap this up,
And we'll see
next
where that
week.
takes us.
but we're also gonna maybe prep. to-
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
the,
know.
the death
I don't
penalty
know.
one is only 6 pages.
Yeah, death penalty.
So-
Well, I mean, it could lend into same
Well, that's
discussion
what
that we're
I'm worried about, is
talking
that
about.
if we get talking about it, that we get talking about it, and here it is, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Alternative of incarceration, death penalty.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Super
Wow.
positive.
I was trying to roll those together.
All right. We'll see you virtually Sunday. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, good times.
Well, you know,
Technically, it is an alternative.
it is an alternative. I don't think that's what they mean.